Zhuozhou's flood disaster, shocking reports of total destruction of Garrisoned army in Hebei's Baoding spread online. Rural bank depositors in Hunan arrested while attempting to recover their deposits. Fuzhou petitioners gather every Monday to discuss rights protection experiences. China's real estate crisis widening, small and medium suppliers facing desperation. Chinese rush to purchase radiation detectors, discover highest radiation levels in their homes. Apple expedites its exit from China. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Zhuozhou's flood disaster, shocking reports of total destruction of Garrisoned army in Hebei's Baoding spread online. The recent floods in Zhuozhou, Hebei, have not only inflicted substantial harm on the local civilian population but also seem to have impacted the military units stationed in the region. In recent days, online reports have unveiled a shocking revelation: the CCP's stationed 82nd Army in Baoding was inundated, resulting in significant casualties and near-total devastation. In detail, on the 28th, a Twitter account named Zhuozhou posted, "My former colleague, a former journalist and well-known author, confirmed through his former comrades from the Central Guard Bureau, who are now military program personnel at CCTV, that indeed a military unit stationed in Baoding was submerged by the massive floodwaters from Beijing, resulting in heavy casualties. This information is confirmed to be true, but I dare not disclose further details regarding the specific circumstances or the number of casualties." Zhao stated, "The news of the entire army being engulfed by the flood is no longer a secret. Beijing government officials, news media personnel, and others are quietly spreading and discussing it on WeChat." Even WeChat did not rigorously censor the news of the military being submerged, unlike in the case of past sensitive information. This is why, despite the extremely dire situation in Zhuozhou due to the flood release, there was an unusual absence of any national leaders offering condolences or inspecting the disaster site. It's because too many soldiers were drowned, which made national leaders afraid of the military unit staging protests or a revolt. Zhuozhou also provided another perspective to validate the authenticity of the news, stating, "Just look at how few 50-cent trolls have commented on this tweet. The pro-CCP trolls have dwindled, and now all that's left are professional trolls." This confirms that the military was indeed submerged. Furthermore, public records confirm that the Chinese Communist Party's People's Liberation Army 82nd Group Army is stationed in Baoding, Hebei. The massive floods have made it difficult to distinguish between military personnel and civilians. There are many military units stationed around Beijing, and they've never encountered such a sudden and extensive flood release, stated one source. Additionally, most of these soldiers are young, in their 20s. They are not trained in self-rescue techniques in normal circumstances. Their training primarily focuses on tasks like making beds, and even that has left them somewhat inexperienced. Nobody had any prior experience, and the situation unfolded so abruptly that there was little chance for rescue. Nonetheless, some netizens consider this news to be unreliable, asserting, "No evidence, no credibility." They believe that the possibility of the military being flooded exists, but claiming heavy casualties seems somewhat exaggerated. Rural bank depositors in Hunan arrested while attempting to recover their deposits. The situation involving depositors at rural banks in Hunan continues to heat up recently, as many bank depositors from villages and towns in Hunan province once more tried to recover their deposits but were intercepted and detained by the Hunan police. In detail, on the 27th, nearly 100 bank depositors from various villages and towns in Hunan province traveled to Luoyang, Hunan, to demand the return of their deposits. Most of them were intercepted at highway junctions, and only a few managed to reach the People's Bank of China branch in Luoyang, where banners were displayed with messages like, "The Hunan government unlawfully confiscates citizens' legal deposits, restricts personal freedom, and demands the illegal withdrawal of bank deposits." This is absurd, shameless, and shocking to hear. In a widely circulated video, protesters chanted, "The Hunan government must return our deposits, and the Hunan Provincial Cooperative will return our deposits." On July 10 of last year, 3,000 depositors went to Zhuozhou to demand the return of their deposits, and they were violently dispersed by students from the Hunan Police College. Currently, Wang Weiping, the former party committee secretary of the college and the discipline inspection team leader stationed at the Provincial Public Security Department, is under investigation. However, depositors revealed that their primary demand is the freedom to withdraw their funds. One depositor said that, "If you don't resolve this, we will continue to demand withdrawals endlessly. If you don't give us our money for a day, then our footsteps won't stop. We'll just keep coming, this time in Luoyang, and the next time in some other place." Some depositors have also reported being threatened and intimidated by the police. They are not allowed to accept interviews from foreign media or travel to Beijing to petition. Regarding this matter, another depositor said, "They are most afraid of this. They are also most afraid of you going to Beijing to petition, exposing them." In April of last year, 5 village and town banks in Hunan and Anhui provinces experienced a crisis of difficulty in withdrawing funds, affecting thousands of depositors who have been unable to access their money. They had jointly submitted petitions but saw no results. Many depositors are facing financial difficulties, and some have even been blacklisted as untrustworthy individuals. In April of this year, Hunan village and town banks plan to withdraw 10% of deposits, but after resistance from depositors, they claim to increase the withdrawal rate to 50%. The withdrawal process concluded on August 31st, but some depositors found their accounts cancelled and their deposits reduced to zero after registering, receiving only 10% of their deposits. Fuzhou petitioners gather every Monday to discuss rights protection experiences. Unlike in the past, when Chinese people were passively enduring pressure from the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, government and were too afraid to stand up and speak for justice, they are now gradually awakening. They now have the courage to rise against what is irrational and seek fairness and what is right. One example that affirms this assertion is the incident involving a group of over a dozen individuals who voluntarily aimed to protect human rights in Fuzhou, Fujian province. They deliberately chose not to comply with the regulations set by the CCP and planned to hold regular meetings every Monday to discuss how to address the practice of CCP officials acting above the law. According to a report from a rights-defending website, the majority of those who participate in these weekly gatherings are victims of forced demolitions and have also been subjected to the injustices of extra-legal black jails used for maintaining social stability. They consider these Monday gatherings as an opportunity for collective rights defense. On August 27, the focus of their discussion was, when will the public servants who are supposed to uphold justice actually start following the law in their actions? When will they return the property they've unlawfully taken from ordinary citizens? When will the path to seeking justice for those who have been wronged truly begin? The petitioners caution the authorities that the arrogant and arbitrary conduct of CCP officials, who misuse their authority and ignore established rules, will only further escalate the tensions between officials and the public. As per the petitioners' accounts, some among them have faced threats from local government authorities for participating in the Gather Every Monday activities. Mr. Tang, a petitioner from Fujian, explained, "There's essentially no rule of law in China. Whatever a government official says becomes the law. In Fuzhou, we used to hold these gatherings every Monday, with over 300 attendees. However, they've now resolved the issue for a small group of individuals." But how did they resolve it? There were no legal documents involved. For instance, if you have property worth 10 million, they give you 3.3 million, coerce you to sign a pledge not to sue or dispute, and if you attempt to petition again, they arrest you and send you to prison. Mr. Chen, another petitioner from Fujian, added, "I'm not restricting our discussions to just the Fuzhou area, and I avoid bringing up my personal matters. Instead, we focus on societal injustices, disparities, and wrongful cases. As my friend in Beijing puts it, the skyscraper must fall before there is hope for China. China's real estate crisis widening, small and medium suppliers facing desperation. The debt crisis of large real estate developers represented by Evergrande and Country Garden has plunged the entire Chinese real estate industry into an unprecedented crisis. Suppliers holding large amounts of commercial paper from these real estate companies have also fallen into hardship. Among the vast group of creditors, the hope of small and medium-sized suppliers to recover their hard-earned money from real estate companies is particularly bleak. Like Evergrande, Country Garden, a real estate developer, also has three main groups of creditors: home buyers awaiting delivery, financial institutions that provided loans, and suppliers of materials. Real estate companies primarily pay suppliers using commercial paper. If a real estate company's financial chain breaks or it goes bankrupt, small and medium-sized suppliers are typically low on the list of creditors, making it unlikely for them to convert their commercial paper into cash. For example, Lan Mingqiang is one of the many suppliers to Country Garden. His company mainly produces fences and billboards for construction sites, and Country Garden owes him about 150,000 yuan, approximately $20,565. Now, as the deadline for Country Garden's default approaches, he feels that this money has become out of reach. Lan told the New York Times that he has recently given up his business and left his family in Chongqing to sell snacks to tourists in Zhuozhou just to make a living. He mentioned that Country Garden's financial crisis has left him unable to pay his son's tuition for the upcoming first year of junior high school. According to data from the research firm Guangzhou Jingxuan cited in the New York Times report, it is conservatively estimated that Country Garden suppliers have at least $390 billion in outstanding payments waiting to be paid. Beyond suppliers, many construction workers have also had their wages withheld. At an idle construction site belonging to Country Garden, construction workers posted protest banners that read, "Withholding wages is shameful," and "Country Garden, return our hard-earned money." On Weibo, posts from construction workers complaining about real estate developers withholding wages are widespread. Some have uploaded photos of court documents from their lawsuits or records of their complaints to local governments. People are collectively expressing feelings of despair and frustration. However, resorting to legal action to collect debts is often a desperate move. Even if the lawsuits are won, suppliers or construction workers may not recover their hard-earned money if the real estate company's assets cannot cover their debts. According to the article titled "Several Home Supply Companies in Crisis Amid Country Garden's Real Estate Giant Collapse," as of the end of 2022, Country Garden Real Estate Group had 5.9 billion yuan in unpaid commercial paper to suppliers across various construction materials industries. The collapse of Country Garden has also had adverse effects on its partner companies. The article also reveals that an estimated $50 billion in US dollar bonds within the real estate industry is set to mature this year. It can be foreseen that as this peak debt repayment period approaches, even larger groups of suppliers will find themselves in dire straits or even facing bankruptcy. Chinese rush to purchase radiation detectors, discover highest radiation levels in their homes. As previously reported, Japan's recent commencement of discharging treated water from Fukushima into the ocean has triggered extensive panic among the Chinese populace. Initially, people went on frenzied salt-buying sprees, followed by boycotting seafood consumption. Currently, they are in a frantic rush to acquire nuclear radiation detectors, causing these devices to be completely sold out in stores. And that's when a shocking discovery appeared. As reported by New Headline News, a Chinese netizen shared on social media that after using a Geiger counter, a particle detector designed for ionizing radiation detection, at home, they discovered radiation levels 976 times higher than those in Tokyo. The post elaborated that their readings exceeded even Fukushima 3.0 and would sporadically peak at 9.7. The netizen expressed astonishment at these findings. They also noted that, according to data from China's state media, CCTV News, the radiation level in Tokyo resulting from Japan's discharged nuclear wastewater is 0.01. In contrast, their own data is 976 times higher than Tokyo's. The netizen mentioned they had owned the Geiger counter for 6 months and never expected to use it at home, but it exploded during this measurement. They added that they now have a severe headache and want to determine if this is a common occurrence or an isolated incident. This post quickly spread across Chinese social media platforms after being captured in screenshots. According to Chinese media outlets like the paper and Zhupai News, In under a week, radiation detectors in China have flown off the shelves. As of August, some manufacturers have already sold over 10,000 units, several times their typical monthly sales figures. Certain sales platforms even indicate tens of thousands of outstanding orders for radiation detectors yet to be fulfilled. One individual, Xia, residing in a coastal city in Zhuozhou, shared her experience. When she utilized the detector outdoors, it displayed radiation levels of merely 0.06 to 0.08 microsieverts per hour. However, once inside her home, the reading shot up to 0.1 to 0.2 microsieverts per hour. These findings have spurred a flurry of discussions among Chinese netizens. Many have posted their own home radiation measurements online, with most readings hovering around the 0.1 microsieverts per hour range, mirroring Xia's results. Some individuals suspect that building materials, especially tiles and marble, might be responsible for the elevated radiation levels. Furthermore, a number of Chinese netizens have voiced their anticipation that, in the future, when undertaking indoor renovations or home improvement projects, radiation detectors might become a common tool for individuals to personally assess the radiation levels of the building materials they use. Such a trend could potentially pose challenges for the building materials market. Regarding this matter, Shen Rongqin, an associate professor at York University in Canada, pointed out that there is a widespread issue of excessive nuclear radiation in China's construction materials. This has greatly alarmed many Chinese citizens, leading other cities to follow suit in testing. Initial results suggest that cases of radiation pollution in Chinese buildings may not be uncommon. As a result, people are beginning to complain about real estate developers and suspect collusion between officials and business interests. Shen Rongqin believes that the financial crises faced by companies like Evergrande, Country Garden, and Soho have already burst China's real estate bubble. Now, the discovery that nuclear radiation pollution is not originating from the sea but rather from homes and offices, where people are exposed to above-standard nuclear pollution daily, is equivalent to rubbing salt in the wound of the declining real estate market. This is causing even greater difficulties for the Chinese economy. Let's go back to the debates about Japan discharging nuclear wastewater into the sea. An article authored by Nigel Marks, an associate professor of physics at Curtin University of Technology, and other experts, and published on The Conversation, reveals that radiation is, in fact, everywhere, with approximately 8.4 kilograms, 3,000 pbq, of tritium already present in Pacific seawater. In comparison, the total amount of tritium in Fukushima's wastewater is much smaller, around 3 grams, 1 pbq. Marx straightforwardly states that the release of Fukushima's wastewater into the ocean will not kill the Pacific. Apple expedites its exit from China. Amid the US-China trade tensions, Apple suppliers are shifting their production lines, with Vietnam and India emerging as the most popular new centers in the past decade. Apple aims to relocate 30 to 50% of its production capacity to regions outside of China. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal on August 17, 2023, this is a bit like diversifying a portfolio. With US-China relations becoming increasingly contentious, many Western companies see greater risks in China, so they are considering reducing their investments there, thinking politically about reducing risks. Bloomberg notes that based on data from over 370 Apple suppliers and factory locations, Vietnam and India have become the most popular new centers in the past decade. In the last 10 years, the number of companies assembling Apple products in Vietnam has increased fourfold. India currently produces 14 locally manufactured Apple phones, with the iPhone 15 set to become the first model to be shipped directly from India. Yahoo Finance on May 30, 2023 states, India used to produce only older iPhone models and not new ones. Now, they are beginning to produce updated iPhones, including the latest models, almost simultaneously with China. This indicates Apple's increased emphasis on its production capabilities in India. Analysts suggest that the fragmentation of global supply chains may lead to higher prices for Apple products. Additionally, infrastructure in India and Vietnam, including electricity and water supply, still needs improvement. Nevertheless, Apple's diversification strategy continues, with Taiwanese assembly plants playing a key role in its overseas expansion. Companies like Foxconn and Pegatron plan significant investments in India and the expansion of manufacturing bases in Vietnam. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.